If you've ever asked yourself, am I really ready to lead? This episode is for you. We're digging into the mindset, motives, and methods behind godly leadership so you can show up with clarity, confidence, and conviction in every space God has called you to. You'll learn how to define your leadership style, evaluate if you're truly ready, and uncover the motives that should drive a courageous disciple who leads with integrity. Welcome to Courageous Disciples, the podcast for faith driven entrepreneurs, leaders, and purpose driven women who are committed to learning the word, living it out, and leading others to do the same. Today, again, I have my girl Luverta Reames here from the Author Prayer Series on YouTube, and she's going to ask some great questions because before you lead, you've got to know what kind of leader you are becoming. So let's talk mindset, motives, and the methods that matter. Let's get into it. Hey, Luverta.
Hey, how are you?
How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am well. I am doing very well. Just some tech difficulties this morning. It's extremely exciting to have 1,000 technical difficulties. On the day that you're to record, it's a wonderful thing. It's the life of podcasting. All
Absolutely.
right, but let's get into this leadership conversation, which I have to admit right from the start that I feel a tad bit unqualified to have, but let's have it.
Join the club. I'm like, I don't know what your answers will be, but I already feel attacked. I feel like I'm not doing enough. Maybe, maybe this will be helpful for the both of us.
Yes, let's see.
Let's
Let's
dive right
see.
in and talk about what it means to lead.
One, people are following. I guess that's implied. If you're leading, it means people are following. That's it. Because you can have good leading and bad leading. So we're just talking about what it means to lead. It means that people are following you. You have impact and you have influence, good or bad, good or evil. So that's leading. Are people following you?
Okay. Let's talk about your leadership style. How do you define
First of all, haphazard,
it?
throwing spaghetti on the wall and seeing what sticks, building the bridge while you're walking over it. That's really been my leadership style. Lots of crying and apologizing and a ton of mistakes. I don't know what style that is, but that has been my leadership style. Partially because, even if you are trained in leadership, and I don't think that I was trained in leadership necessarily, even when you are trained in leadership, it is something that you get better at as you do it. You can have leadership development, and I think it will better prepare you that you will come in with some tools that someone who doesn't have leadership training may not come in with. But truth be told, you get better as you do it. And so I believe that my leadership style, whatever it is, has improved over time. I started out being very concerned about it was honestly more ego driven than you would think. It didn't seem ego driven at the time. I wasn't like, oh, I'm the boss and I'm in charge and you will what touch not thine and not like I wasn't that way, but it was ego driven in the sense that I didn't want to make hard decisions and I didn't want to have crucial conversations because I was concerned about what people would say about me as a leader. I was concerned about my reputation, how somebody would perceive me if I did this, if I didn't allow this, if I responded in a certain way, if my expectations were too high, was I just, it was all ego. It was all about me and my feelings and my inadequacies and my self esteem and all of that. And that is certainly not the way you want to start leading if you can help it. But over time, I've matured emotionally. And I think emotional maturity is huge in leadership. And I've also grown in my relationship with Christ over time. Obviously, we're just getting better and better and more like Christ every day. And I've made mistakes and I learned from my mistakes. I may be a slow learner. Okay. Slow learner for sure. I have to make the same mistake a couple times before I get the lesson. But my heart, I always had a heart for the people. I always had a heart for the people I led, even if it didn't always translate that way. And so I don't know if that answers your question. It probably really more reveals the fact that I don't know a ton about leadership as far as like conversations about it, what leadership styles are and vocabulary and this. I don't know even what leadership styles are, but I'm direct and I have compassion and love for the people that I lead and love for the people that I serve. And I'm always leaned into becoming a better leader. That is an ongoing goal. It's not just something I know I need. I'm not just saying, oh, I know I'm not perfect. I am actively, intentionally, strategically improving as a leader. And that's kind of my lifestyle in all things. So, but yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question, which we did not plan. I know.
What are you doing? This is
I know.
not allowed.
Because, and let's hope, like, we're just gonna have an honest conversation about leadership, I guess. So you were under my leadership as a volunteer, as a staff, and how would you describe my leadership? What would you say about my leadership? And we, in case you guys don't know, like Luverta and I have been together for a while now, right? I don't know how many years, but enough to say a few years. And yeah, so I'm a little nervous about the question, but I still want you to be honest, and we're gonna let this play out, baby. This will not be cut. It will not be edited. This is so people gonna get the real, the raw, the truth expose on Courage Molina right here today on the podcast. Compared to the burden.
No, I would honestly say that in whatever way you communicated or in whatever way you led, it was always with transparency and vulnerability. Like that is who you are, and that is how you show up in every space. There isn't like, oh, I'm the leader and I won't, share corporately or I won't share vulnerably what's going on. You always shared from a place of transparency and vulnerability. Even if you're like, I don't know what's going on, but we're gonna figure this out together. You always led from that space of like, even if I'm unsure, we're gonna go on this journey together and we all gonna learn and grow together.
Oh, I love that for us. I love that for me. Yes, I'm so glad I asked the question now. It is true. I am that way. And it's kind of frowned upon. But here's the thing. I have the freedom, or I had the freedom to be transparent and vulnerable because I didn't know any better. And I'm still the same way, even though I know what the going advice is and things. I'm still the same way. I'm still very transparent. I'm still very vulnerable with whatever we got going on, whether it's a church or as a coach or whatever. I am that way. I don't really know how to be any other way. But I don't think that I would have been if I had come through some traditional channels because that is frowned upon. I am even told at this level, well, you can't do this and you can't do that. And I'm like, that's just not how we do it.
One of the things I've been thinking about is because one of my old leaders is now transitioning from her role into this new unknown space. And so I've been thinking about like how her leadership style has impacted me. And someone else had me to kind of reflect on like if I had a great leader or a great manager, what are some things that I've admired about that person that I could bring into my own kind of leadership style. And I thought that was really important for me to kind of reflect on because I want to know, how do you know if you are ready to be a leader?
Oh, I think that you know that you're ready to be a leader when the Lord tells you to lead, right? So it's less about ready, honestly. That's kind of that's the caveat with leadership and leading and being called by God and being a believer. Rarely is it true that the leader feels ready or the leader feels like, okay, I've done all these things and now I'm ready to lead. The Lord often and biblically calls individuals who at the time of their calling are asking him, are you sure I'm the right person? Send someone. I still stutter. I'm the least of my clan, and my clan is the smallest of the bunch. He is often calling people that he has to encourage over and over, even if they've seen great success. He starts out with Joshua as the leader, encouraging him from the go. Now, Joshua was clearly obedient, and his response was immediate obedience to God. He didn't do a lot of back and forth, but we have to consider that there must have been something that God knew that is not written down, because he tells him to be strong and courageous several times before they even get started. You're going to be the one to lead these people. I'm going to give you this. He's giving him this encouragement. So you are, maybe it's not if you're ready, it's time to lead when God calls you to lead. Ready is not important at all. It's not, doesn't matter if you're ready or not. When the Lord calls you to lead, is impressing upon your heart for you to lead, that's when it's time to lead. Now, how can you tell when the Lord is impressing it upon your heart for you to do something? One, if he tells you in your prayer time. Two, you kind of already know when it is, when you're studying the Bible and everything that comes out seems to be pointing you towards leadership. When your heart is broken, grieved, or even angered about something, and you have a solution or you have a heart for those people, that's often an indicator that the Lord is calling you. Should I do it now, or should I go out and get all the credentials and all the things? Again, you have to follow the Lord's leading. I'm a fan of education. I'm a fan of training. And people love to say do things in decency and in order, which very rarely do we see that example in the Bible, where somebody was trained up to lead or somebody felt like they were the perfect leader. And when we see perfectly trained leaders, those who have the best education, they turned out to be Judas Iscariot, right? He was the most qualified of the disciples, or they turn out to be Pharisees and Sadducees. And it's not to say that because you get educated or because you get training, but I think there's so much emphasis on that, that we value training and education and human validation more than we do what God is telling us in our quiet time. There's somebody listening right now where you don't have somebody that's encouraging you. You don't have a leader that's telling you, okay, I believe it's time for you to lead. But you have this burning, you can't shake it, you don't want it, you feel unqualified, you feel unready, you feel too small. That was my favorite thing to say to the Lord in the beginning. But I'm just a girl. I'm just one little girl. That was, I used to say that all the time. But I'm just one little girl. When he would say, I'm calling you to do this, and I just felt this leading to do something, and he gave me this vision and what it would look like, and I kept saying, okay, yeah, no, it was just so massive. I'm just one little girl. There's someone who's listening right now, and you feel like you're just, I don't know what you're just, but I'm just to this. I'm just a kid. I'm just a student. I just started. I'm nobody. I'm too small. My reach isn't big enough. My platform isn't big enough. I don't have any training. My church doesn't have a space for me. My pastor is not calling me to lead. I didn't get accepted into this program. There's someone right now, the Lord is calling you to lead. You feel this burning. You feel this pressing that you cannot shake, though you've tried to shake it a million times. It keeps coming back to that thing. So now you have a responsibility. Now it's time to lead. Now it's time to lead. That's my answer. I don't know if you're ready, but it's time to lead when the Lord says, whether you're ready or not.
Okay, so readiness is not in the equation.
No, it's not.
Gotcha. Okay.
Can I say something? Preparation might be, though, right? You may not be ready, but you can get prepared. So the Lord is calling me to lead right now. What do I need to do to prepare for this leadership opportunity? What do I need to do to prepare for leading Bible study, starting a ministry, wherever it is God is calling me to lead? What is it that I need to do to prepare for that? Do I need to outline some stuff? Do I need to get organized? Do I need to say no to some things? Are there some routines that I need to put in place, some systems? It's preparation is certainly required. Readiness is optional.
Okay. All right. So, what are the key motives that should drive a leader?
Obedience. That's it. Obedience is what should drive you, what encourages you, what keeps you going, all of those things. Outside of obedience to God, everything else will burn away. Nothing else will last in this journey of leadership. If it's anything other than, and I'm talking about godly leadership, right?
Mhm.
Certainly you could have other motives that might be very strong. But for the godly leader, the one who's been called to lead, the one who is leading from a place of obedience, it's a part of your purpose, your assignment. This is the space that you've been called to. You've been anointed and appointed to this place. For those people, your motive for leading has to be obedience. Anything outside of that is not going to last. Why? Because ministry leadership is messy, because leadership is messy. And I know it's messy because you're dealing with people. Everybody's not where you are, everybody's not ready. People have different experiences and all of those things. And the second that you are required to be engaged with, involved with, committed to the development and growth of other human beings, whether they are ready or not, whether they have voted for you or not, right? The second that that happens, it gets messy. And we hear a lot of conversations about church hurt, and that church hurt conversation is often talked about how the shepherd has hurt the sheep, how people in leadership have hurt the sheep. Very rarely do we talk about how the sheep has bitten the shepherd. And baby, that's happening out here in these leadership streets. How a pastor, a leader, a Bible study person, whoever this person is, a mentor, whatever, has been pouring into a person, and that person turns around and betrays them, leaves them, disappoints them, talks about them, says all manner of evil against them. We don't talk about that, but let me tell you something, that happens. It's not just people leaving a ministry or leaving an organization because the Lord has called them to something else. Leaders are abandoned because ministry is hard. People quit because they feel they have the freedom to quit. Maybe they weren't as prepared as they needed to be. Maybe they didn't really hear from God, right? That they needed to be a support or on the team or whatever. But people will leave, people will call you out for not doing whatever it is they thought you should be doing the way they thought you should be doing it. And because you are the leader, one, we don't get to clap back. We don't have the freedom to defend our name most of the time and defend our reputation. The Lord says, be quiet. I'm going to defend you. I'm going to pray. Then we get to a place like, oh, I need to pray for them and all of that. There's no way for me to clap back at somebody who was lying on me, talking about my reputation, behaving in a way that implies that I did a wrong to them, even when I have receipts. There's no way for me to expose that as a leader and not come off like, first of all, that's mad immature, fam. It's not godly, right? Like all of these things. So now people can just say whatever they want to say about you, and you just got to take that. That thing hurts. It hurts when you make a mistake and somebody charges that to your character. And so, how can you continue to lead and be a leader in those spaces that you've been called to if it's not for obedience? I don't know. Because if it wasn't the Lord calling me, I would have quit ministry leadership a long time ago. And that's not something I'm saying because I don't love what I do. I wouldn't have made it this far because early on there were a lot of things that happened, things I thought were going to happen, and they tell you, they say this and you think, oh, not no, it's not going to be my people. Pastors and books for pastors will tell you you have to be ready for people to leave, and you think to yourself, oh, if they leave, bye. But you don't know it's going to be the people that you love the most that will leave. You don't know that it's going to be a person that you never thought would do it that does. You can't even imagine that, right? And so if your motive, if it's not obedience, I don't, it's going to turn into, maybe it'll turn into something else. But for godly leaders that want to stay, they talk about how pastors will quit after 5 years of ministry. I can see that. We haven't hit 5 years, but I see it because you putting in more work than a lot of people, and you're getting the least amount. You know what I'm saying? Of return on investment, the way you thought it was going to go, the way you hoped it would go. It's not easy, and so obedience, commitment to obedience. God, even if it never changes, Lord, even if my church stays small, Lord, even if the people don't do what you've called them to do. We recently was studying Jeremiah, a verse from Jeremiah. I cannot, the actual verse escapes me now. But what we were talking about was who Jeremiah was and how he was. And for all intents and purposes, if you looked at his life and what he was called to do, we would have called Jeremiah a failure. If he was a pastor or a preacher today, we would have said that he was not called. We would have questioned his anointing. Why? Because his church was non existent. His following, right, was non existent. People were not listening to him. They were turning their backs to him. They were antagonizing him. He faced so much opposition. He was always crying about something, right? We would have said, oh, he's failed. And we would have questioned his anointing. The only thing that gets you to get up and give a message, get up and lead and serve over and over and over, even if you don't see the fruit. Sometimes the fruit is obedience. Sometimes the fruit is the message that you gave. Nobody wants to hear that. I had a lady tell me, shout out to Nance. Nance, y'all can thank Nance because she was one of the people very early on who encouraged me to follow the leading of the Lord, even though I was like, man, I don't know about this. And one of the things she told me very early on is that people are not my fruit. And I did not want to hear that. When she told me this, I did not want to receive that. I probably did not receive it in the moment that she gave it to me, but I have so much respect and love for her and appreciation that I didn't argue. I just listened. But just like every fiber of my being rejected that. She's been in ministry way longer than me, but every fiber of my being wanted to reject that. Like, nope, that's not my portion. Not my portion. But as I have matured and as I have continued to lead, you know what I realized? Nance is right, right? The fruit aren't the people. Well, you can tell the ministry by the fruit. That can't be it, though, right? That can't be it because look at Jeremiah. These people did not follow, they did not listen. And so, if it's not obedience, how else can you continue to show up week after week, month after month, year after year if your reach doesn't grow, if the income doesn't come, if you have to be bivocational, which means I have this ministry, but I have to work a full time job in order to do this ministry. People act like you get more time in a day because you're doing ministry work. You don't, right? And so ministry might be your first love, but sometimes it's your second job. And so does that feel like does that feel like success to you when you're given all that you have and all you want to do is teach and preach and serve the people? You have a nonprofit organization in mind, you have this thing in mind, you just want to serve the kids, you just want to serve the animals, just want to serve the open, like whoever it is you want to serve. You have this desire to have this impact on them and improve their lives in some way and show them the love of Christ through whatever your gifting or your talent or your service is. But when that thing doesn't grow, if God called you to it, how do you continue to show up if it's not obedience? I don't know personally.
That's really good. I really like that answer. It goes into my next question, but that's basically that's basically the answer to the next question anyway. And so that's really good because when the challenges come and you just want to be like bump everything and bump everybody,
Yeah,
the obedience to God that will keep you through all of the things. So yeah, I really
yeah,
appreciate that.
good. I'm glad. I'm glad that this is good. I like to say this though, if obedience is the motive, then how do you stay motivated, right? If obedience is the motive, how can you keep obedience as the motive at the forefront of your mind? It comes back to some of the other things we've talked about on this podcast, like studying your word, reading the Bible. To know God is to love him. So spending more time with him, it even makes that sacrifice a little bit easier. Why? Because I know you're doing this for my good. I know I'm doing this thing for your glory. I couldn't repay the debt that you've paid. So I'm going to show up even if these people don't show up. I'm going to speak to a room of one like it's a room of 1 million, because I know that this is what you've called me to do. And this person is important to you. We love to sing the song that he'll leave the 99 for the one, but very rarely do we want to leave the 99 for the one. We don't want to leave a space where we have, a greater reach. I've got 1,000 followers. I got 100,000 followers over here. And now the Lord is calling me to come from that space and focus more on this. I don't want to leave that space. I don't want to leave the 99 for the one, but we're always excited that the Lord has done that. And so that's something that we have to start thinking about, but we don't get into these reflective and contemplative moments if we're not seeking God for ourselves, not just for the way that we're leading, not just for the people that we've been called to lead. If you are traditional Bible teaching, preaching, prophetic in that way type of leader, if that's what you're doing in your ministry, the only time that you get in the word cannot be for yourself. There may be times and weeks where that happens because the week got away from you, because you threw the week away, because you just was like, I ain't got it this week, and you just fooled around and whatever. Those weeks happen. We are not perfect. That cannot be your standard. Your standard cannot be the only time that I'm studying is to prepare for somebody else, is to prepare a word for someone else. Now it's fine for your personal devotion to be what you teach from. I got into this word for myself. I wasn't thinking about anyone else. I got into this word this morning for myself. And now I'm going to take what the Lord has given me for myself, and I'm going to share some of these takeaways with y'all. I'm going to share and teach from the scripture that I've been meditating on for my life, for my season. That's fine. But if the only time you're studying and you're getting in the word, it's always to prepare. If you're spending more time preparing to teach than you are for yourself, just as a standard, not, listen, I have certainly had it where the only time I opened my Bible was on a Friday, and then I was crying because we have church on Saturday. If y'all don't know, I'm a pastor, online church, Bold Faith Community, Bold Faith Community Church. You can go to boldfaithchurch.org, join us, check us out. We have Bible study live every Saturday morning, 9 a.m. EST. Plug for the church, holla. But there were seasons, and I started that in 2020, at the end of 2020, December of 2020. And so there were seasons where it was Friday before I got ready to study at all. No studying happened all week long. And I had already decided I wanted to teach from my own personal devotion. Well, I didn't get no devotion that week. And so here it is, Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and I'm crying, repenting, apologizing, asking the Lord not to take. Please, I used to say, have you chosen another king in Israel? Please don't take your anointing. I used to be boohoo crying on a Friday, and then the Lord would give me a word. I'd be like, oh, I'm never going to do it again. I'm never going to do it again. But there would be weeks where it happened again. So, this happens, right? It's not your standard. That can't be your standard though, you know, because the closer my relationship is with Christ, the better a leader I'm going to become and the more committed, and it keeps resentment out. It's hard to be obedient and to continue to love God's people when they don't when you feel like they don't appreciate you. And this is not my story, right? I love my community, and my community loves me, and so I am so grateful that I have been called to a community that loves me back. I thank God. I don't take that lightly, because I'm gonna be where the Lord sends me, and I have been in places, not necessarily in traditional ministry, but I've been in places as a believer called to lead with Christian values and biblical values where it was a hostile environment, baby. They ain't want me there. And I was like, first of all, I don't want to be here, but this is what the Lord sent me. So now we all upset. We can all be praying and fasting that my assignment here ends soon and very soon, because I'm here to the Lord say, let's go. You don't want me here. Guess what? Same Z's, right? So I've been in those places, and those places are hard. It's hard to remain the salt and the light if you're not connected to the source. It's hard to reflect where you're not spending time. It's hard for the for the presence of the Lord to be all around you and for that thing to show up and manifest in those places if you are not sitting with Him in your prayer closet and sitting with Him in His presence for yourself. I'm grateful that's not my story. But when that is the case, it's impossible to show up with love if I'm not getting God for myself. So, yes, it's obedience, but that obedience is a heavy lift if you are not getting to know God more and more every day. If you are not practicing the way, shout out to John Mark Comer. I'm just shouting out people today, like, what's up, John Mark Comer? Who I'm obsessed with. Y'all should read all of his books. Absolutely amazing. Changed my life and impacted me in just such a huge way. Check those books out. But if you're not practicing the way, if you're not getting closer to the Lord, if you're not building your relationship with Him where you just love Him real big, real big, real big, and you're willing to do anything, I think in the secular space, we have been fools for love, right? There's a song, Everybody Plays a Fool. Everybody plays a fool sometimes. No exception to the rule, right? He's talking about in love, fam. Like, we have all played a fool in love, love somebody that didn't love us back. We had these rose tinted glasses, you know what I'm saying? And so we've been a fool for love before because we put so much time and adoration. What I'm saying to you is, if you put in that same type of energy with the Lord, getting to know Him and love Him more and more, then you're just willing to do anything. And the good thing for you is it ain't foolish, it's faith for you. Do you know what I mean? Out here in these streets, yeah, you was a fool, honey. Because everybody knew what it was, but you didn't. So yes, you were a fool in that situation. In this situation, it's not so. It's not foolish, even though they call it foolish. It's not foolish, it's faith. And so that comes as an extension of your relationship, your intimacy with God. So I hope this was good. I hope this was a blessing to y'all. I felt ill-equipped, but I feel good now. I feel a little bit more equipped. So to talk about leading and leadership. As always, Luverta, thank you so much for asking the good questions. Like, these questions are really good. I definitely, honestly, could not have done this without you. So I appreciate you. Thank you. Listen up. Yes, thanks. Listen up, guys. If this conversation stirred something in you, if you recognize that you've been called to lead, if you're feeling the nudge to rise up, lead well, and live out the call in your life, don't ignore it. Okay? That tug on your heart, you're looking for a sign, you're looking for confirmation. This is it. This is God reminding you that you were never meant to do this alone, that you're called to do this work. So get to it. Now, if you're looking for support, if you don't have support, or you're not in a space where they offer like mentorship and leadership development, I want to invite you to join Courageous Disciples, because inside that mentorship, you'll find the support, strategy, and spiritual guidance you need to grow in the Word, activate your calling, and finally follow through. And because you're here and I know you're serious about your next season, I want you to know you can join us for your first month for free. You're just going to use code podcast at checkout. So head over to courageousdisciples.com and get plugged into the community that's going to help you study the Bible for real. It's going to help you to take action. It's going to help you to lead with bold faith. Until next time, keep showing up, keep trusting God, and keep leading with courage. Because you're a courageous disciple. So let's go. See y'all next week.